Hey fellas, so we're looking at a Toro 22-inch cut, right? It's the more square frame, so these are about 10 years old, right? It's the newer variant, but not the newest variant. So just kind of put you in a timeline. Briggs motor, right? It could be personal pace or whatever, but in this case, this is a front wheel drive. What we're going to be doing is the baffle. And that is the plastic piece that goes underneath, right? That completes the back end of the mower. If there's a rear drive, it protects the transmission assembly. And if it's not a rear drive, it just completes the back end of the mower so you have a proper tunnel, keep stuff off of the, I guess the suspension, right? The axle in the back. And it just, kind of completes the whole cylindrical drum area. Now, I've done a number of these videos before, and I just did one recently where this is a basically the same kind of Toro, but it's a rear drive, personal pace. And on some of them, in this particular one I'm referring to, is got a clutch system on it, right? And now that variant is the easiest version to be able to replace the baffle. All the baffles are about the same price. They're very inexpensive. The one I'm going to show you in this video is kind of something I mentioned. You're kind of, I almost want to say, fellas, that throw it out, right? Throw this one out right now. I'm going to completely go over this machine. Not in this video, but I'm going to go over the machine. I'm going to show you it's got a crack in it. It's been beat up. It's been all tweaked. The motor was in good shape. I was able to get it running again, but I don't remember what happened. I think I went to take it off, and one of the bolts broke. There's a lot of rust, but it wasn't like a complete. It's a complete disaster, but it isn't. Right? Every year I like to resurrect or refurbish, what have you, and this is one of those machines where I wound up taking everything apart. I put a different motor on it. I used some parts I had laying around. I bought a new baffle, and I repainted it, and it came out mint. So I'm going to show you a bit about that, but the real focus here is on the baffle. And I want to show you fellas what's involved with this particular model number. And you can, I don't have the model number because most of these stickers just get ripped off, but you can see, you can identify it. So we're going to get a little bit close. I'm going to show you kind of what's involved. I say take the engine off because it's easier to turn the thing upside down and lay it flat. Well, why would you want to turn it upside down, Arch, and lay it flat? Well, fellas, that's because you have to take the wheels off, you have to take the handle off, you have to take the wheel brackets off, you have to take the chute off, you might as well take everything apart. Because basically you are taking everything apart because there really isn't any other way to effectively replace the baffle. And it's plastic. So they all seem to break. So I figured, well, let's get started. I'll interject a little bit. We'll get you down this road. And like I said, I wound up going over this machine. I do like these machines. I will do a number of them over the course of a season because I do like them. They are very good. They're 22-inch. This is a slightly thinner deck than some of the earlier ones, and I'm going to show you that there was a couple of places I had to weld. One I showed you, but I don't remember if I showed you the other one. There's another place in the back next to the baffle area. When you take the baffle out, you can see it. When you take the wheel brackets off and the handle bracket off, it had been tweaked and cocked, and it had, because the deck had cracked, and it cracked in two places, so the whole thing was askew. So we had to put it on the frame straightening machine and wheel it in, Mac, bring it in. We really had to kind of go over this thing, right? This is like a rebuild, really, but it came out mint, and the cost involved in this is cheap, right? It's not expensive to do everything I did, even with the paint and everything. It's the labor. So I figured I'd show you guys, and if you want to do it yourself, and maybe, listen, if you do it yourself, right, you're going to wind up with a beautiful machine. And this episode is not really paint education. I'm not going to get, really into the paint. I just want to show you a little bit about what's going on with these. And if you find one and you're looking to buy and sell, a lot of times I don't replace the baffles if they're just cracked and they're still able to hang in there. This one pretty much fell out. So in the first case, you got to identify the one that you have, decide if you want to go through what I'm going to show you. And you can see some of the identification markers. And if it just completely fell apart, well, then you have no baffle. Now, could you use it without a baffle? Well, kind of, yeah, of course you can. it won't bag correctly without a baffle. So bagging, if you're thinking about, well, I want to bag stuff, no. Mulching, it'll mulch, but it's going to make a mess, and it won't really mulch that well either, because without, you know, the back end of this baffle area, there's no way to keep the grass spinning properly within the underside of the deck to allow the blade to do its crunchy stuff, you know, and make crunchy things. You know, little tiny little bits and pieces, and cut and chop and grind, right? Like a blender. So it really can't do that. Be like leaving the top of your blender off. Did you get anybody ever do that? That happened to me, where like you didn't hold the top of the blender down and you kind of overfilled it and you weren't paying attention, and it just like an eruption all over your kitchen. It's just going to pour out all over. Make your decisions, fellas, about what you think. Leave a comment. You know, watch the video. It's not going to be very long. If you see one in the wild or yours is like this, like I said, make your decisions. If you're looking to sell one, maybe make some money on it, it's up to you. Let's get started. All right, so this is from yesterday. So I'm over here fooling around with this, and you can see the white. That's a zinc compound, and that's to stop flash rust. Like, that's a bit of flash rust, probably because water pooled there. So it's treated, right? You can remove that with a rag. It's still not quite ready for paint, but what we really need to do now is take the handle off, and we got to take the wheels off, and I'm going to walk you guys through that because we need to replace the baffle. And also, this is all sticky from where the sticker was. We got to get that off too, or at least get it cleaner. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. Let me set up. So here's the crack. And I can see it. And of course, there's nothing left of this. And that's one of the reasons why this is all moving around. We're going to put a little bit of liquid wrench in there or something. See, this is all moving. Let me turn this little light on. Okay. It's all moving. It needs to be adjusted. They're actually canted inward. So there's a lot of slop in here. And we're going to resolve all of that. So I kind of lubed up the transmission while I was in here. I pour some oil. I put it on its side, and then I pour a little bit of oil there and on the bearings, and I flip it over the other way, and I let it druze in. But we're pretty clean here. Let's get started. Let me get some lubricant on all this hardware. All right, so now we see we're upside down. So this is our left, and notice where everything goes. Now that I've taken the bolt out, all you need is 1/2-inch wrenches and sockets. And so this is how it goes. See? Just like that. Okay, this kind of set it up like this because it matters, right? It will not, if you put it the other way, it won't work right, right? And then we can drive that out with a mallet or something. Try not to damage it, but we'll do that in a bit. Let me get everything else together. All right, let me just swing around. See that guy in there? See, and there's the bushing. All right, and it's still kind of loose. It's okay. But we're safe. We should be safe. I might want to tighten it just a little bit more. Yeah, just a little bit. Right? And you can see where the weld is. So that would have caused a problem. All right. Now, when you get to this point, take note of the position of everything, as I mentioned earlier in the video, a couple of sequences ago, and you can now put that big bushing in, put some grease on it, you know, lather it up. Before you completely tighten down the baffle, push that through, and then check your orientation, just like I showed you in that same clip. The adjuster handle has to be in the correct location, because if it's not, you'll put it together, but what'll happen is that when you go to adjust the wheel, there won't be enough travel to hit all the different detents. So that's the thing to think about. Now let's take a look at the baffle that I use. I'm going to throw some still shots in here. Shows you the name of the company, etc. You could do a search online in Amazon or whatever, and like, they're not expensive, as you can see. Do do your homework, make sure it. The nice thing about the pictures today that you see on the webs is that whoever they choose as photographers, you know, they do a really good job. They take really good shots, and you want to look, you know, save your old baffle, right? You got to take it out, and before you order it, especially the end pieces, but try to put together what you have. Listen, if you have the model number of the mower, it's even better. All right, in my case, I didn't. So just look at it and look at the configuration of the holes and everything, and try to match up with the year, etc. You'll get it. And then, like I said, just, you know, now that the baffle's in, those two little bolts on the bottom, they're essentially kind of like a locating bolt. They help hold the brackets on the side for the handle and the wheels. And that's kind of like your starter. Now, in some cases, you can leave that bolt on or loosen it up and take off everything else and kind of keep those brackets there and don't have to completely remove them. You really need to get your machine really clean, fellas. It's absolutely imperative at this point. Show here a little bit of super clean. Give it a good wash. Get all the junk out of your way. You don't want to be fighting with filth and dirt. You want to throw a little paint on it, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Throw a little paint on it. Let it set up and dry. Again, lubrication, because things have to spin and move. This is your opportunity to put some good quality lube. I wouldn't use dry lube. You could put the dry lube in later, but I would start off with some grease or Molly grease or something. You don't use a lot. Don't overdo it. And make sure everything is working good. And then once you kind of have everything on, less the wheels, right, then you can do your final tightening. And now the bracketry for the handle and the wheels and everything is good. There's just a number of bushings and bolts that are in there, and you have to fish them out and reach in there. But putting it together when it's all clean, I think you know it's not bad. You'll have some fun doing it. It's just getting to that point is a horror. All right, so let's get back.